Welcome back, episode 80 of the Ground Up podcast. If you are listening to us, you might think, why are you listening to us?
We've been a year and a half on this pod.
We've got a pipeline of over 250 million.
Today we're delivering about £35 million worth of stock.
You can buy stuff, uplift the value, refinance it, go again.
Tech is where the money is, boys.
None of my businesses fail.
Speed is more important than price.
15 arrests growing up. The first time I got arrested was in year 7.
It all started in 1995. On a Tuesday, the wind was very breezy.
You know, I think I still hold the record for the most hours worked over the summer period.
So this, ladies and gentlemen, is Jack Jenkins' 30-second elevator pitch.
Do whatever you want, give it everything you got, but deal with the consequences.
The job's done when the job's done.
We raise about $1.5 million a month at the moment. Want to get that to 10, 20 million a month.
I learnt some valuable lessons at 20.
I was surprised with his vocabulary.
Quasi-autonomous non-government officials.
Go. Make sure you get your Blue Bricks magazine. Round up, baby.
Again, I have some great lessons from that. Like the biggest lesson I had was
Ground up sound, ooh yeah, real estate deals. We lay them down, let's get those deals. Deals, making money, baby.
Welcome back, episode 80 of the Ground Up podcast.
80.
80, mad boys, 80.
I feel 80.
Do you feel 80, mate? It's because you're a daddy, that's why. I'm just going to put myself down a little bit so I'm central. Right, so anyone new to this podcast, we are the Ground Up podcast. There's usually 4 of us, and there will be 4 of us. Dorian's going to join us shortly. You've got Jack Jenkins, Dorian, Payne, Stewart, Wythe, and myself, Ryan Beaumont. We're 4 property developers based from the UK. We've noticed we've got some quite a few new viewers and new listeners nowadays, so we're going to do a quick intro at the start of this one, just about who we are, what we do. We'll keep that brief and then get on to an interesting new development in the AI product space, the potential new phone, a new type of phone, a new device that might completely change the world, from Jony Ive, the guy who invented all the Apple products. So that's going to be interesting. We're going to talk about how that might affect the business space, marketing space, and social life and stuff like that. So yeah, business talks today, and just an update on exactly who we are and what we do and our plans going forwards for any of our new viewers. So Jack, do you want to do a quick update on the week and what you do, mate?
Yeah, we'll do. I'll just dive straight into what I do because I might ramble on in that space. So yeah, guys, we thought it would be a good idea. We're 80 episodes in, which is basically, if you look at 52 episodes as a year, we're a year and a half in. And we hope there's some new listeners that may have not watched our first episode. So we'll give a bit of a rundown of who we are, what we do, where our specialisms are, so you can sort of see the angle of the lens that we're looking at the world in. And equally, we're a year and a half on from that first episode. So stuff might have changed, stuff might have moved. If anyone has watched the last 2 episodes, Stewart's moving house. So because we've moved on since then, I thought it would be a good idea to sort of round robin. I'm going to try and give you like a real whistle-stop tour of from, like birth to now, because I think that will be quite cool.
Send it.
So I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. My dad ran a plant and tool hire company, and my mum's dad ran a construction business. So I grew up literally on building sites. My mum's got a funny story that when I was about 3 or 4 years old, before I went to school, she couldn't find me. And I was actually on the top tier of a scaff on the roof with a cigarette butt in my mouth, handing tiles to the roofer. Obviously, back in those days, no PPE. So that's kind of like the environment that I grew up in. And every house I did grow up in was a building site. And on every house, that house starting at 3 years old where I was handing tiles, I did a bit more on every house and learned the inside outs of doing property and construction and landscaping or whatever it may be.
What was your brand of cigarette, Jack?
It was whatever I picked off the floor, mate. I can't actually remember that.
No minimum legal age back in those days then?
Yeah, love it. In actual fact, what's quite funny is when we finished that house, there's actually photos of me bulldozing like parts of the old house as a 4-year-old kid in a big like 12-ton machine, which is cool. So grew up around sites and grew up around everyone that I know, like godparents, aunties and uncles. They're all builders. So that's kind of like my step into the world. Went to school, wasn't necessarily that good at school. I was dyslexic, but I was always kind of like thinking quite creatively. Had a few businesses going through school, like selling sweets, typical cliche stuff. Then went to university, and I was always a grafter. That's one thing that's always installed into every one of our sort of family, is to be a grafter. And while I was at uni, I was working in a hotel local to uni, but then when I was coming back, I was actually working for almost like a landscaping and sort of gardening business, really, that do a lot of work in the winter for big jobs, and then in the summer they set up all of Henley Regatta. So I got quite a good post there. I climbed that business quite quickly, and I was the youngest but yet the highest paid, because I would just use my head, was quite good at managing people, and grafted my ass off. I think I still hold the record for the most hours worked over the summer period, which in some, believe it or not, some weeks was like 120 hours of labour work, which was because it was obviously day setup, night maintenance during the regatta and the festival, and then I'd just go again the next day and the next day. Built up a bit of a nest egg, and my brother-in-law at the time was working in a sales office, and he was like, "You'd do really well in this office." So I went into the sales office, which was actually in recruitment, and it was very Wolf of Wall Street, big 200-inch screen on the wall. Everyone's dials and minutes were on a tally board, and it would just sort of hop up as you go up and down, so you can always see who the leader is in putting in the effort of making the most dials. So was there for 2 years, was okay at it. I didn't really understand the knack of sales at that point, but I just put in the graft, and I was always first in, last out, always at the top of the leaderboard, even during the 9 to 5 hours that people was there. And while I was there, I ran a meal prep business. So I was cooking food for other employees just so that they could eat. And then I had this bit of a process going. I'd go to Tesco's, go home, cook the batch for the next day. I had a little 90s, 1980 Honda Cub moped that I used to drive to and from, almost like a Deliveroo moped. To and from work, and then the cleaner was in on the gig. I was paying her a bit of cash to wash up all the Tupperware so that I could do it again and again every day. And some days I'd get up to like 30, 40 covers at £5 a pop. And that was all while I was doing my day-to-day business. I was also doing some construction stuff at the weekends. So whether it's garage conversions, believe it or not, loft conversions, roofs. And across the three, I kind of had a tipping point of like what to do. I was like, I want to be an entrepreneur. I don't like getting paid per hour. I definitely didn't like my job. So I took the punt to leave my job. And in my exit interview with my director, he sort of said, what's your reasons for leaving? And I said, I want to be you. I want to be the owner of the business. Like, with all due respect, I just don't see me getting there doing what I'm doing today. And it's not quick enough. So left that business. And that same day I handed in my notice. I remember it very, very clearly. I was like early 20s. I went and worked on a family friend's building site. So that afternoon I was up in a tree, no PPE, cutting down a tree with a chainsaw, and it was the very start of their project. He'd bought a bungalow, and over that next year I just was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, but I was just basically helping out around that site. As the project went through, I then invested in it because I had a nest egg. I decided I wanted to give real estate a proper go, and I bought into that scheme, and then we developed that. Bungalow was bought for 400. We spent about 200 on it plus our sweat equity, so we built everything from the ground up, and then we sold that for 875, and that was like the start of like, right, I'm in. We then did a few other flips across a few years, and I was sort of co-investing and actually on the tools, building everything ground up. But my aspirations and growth wanted to do more. I was like, I want to do 5, 10, 15 sites a year and be off the tools. And we just took coming and helping and pointing the finger and making sure that it's going where it needs to go. And the partner, which was a family friend, he was about 60. He was like, I want to do the opposite. I want to wind down, take less risk, take less debt. That's not my bag. So we then kind of parted forces. And that's when I met Ben. And I've set up a plethora of businesses, which I'll go on to shortly. Believe it or not, that guy that I was JVing with does a lot of work for us now. He's kind of like a handyman across the businesses to get jobs pushed forward. Still got a really good relationship with him, but he still flips a house a year, about that. But yeah, it's actually a bit slower than that given delays. But anyway, the plethora of businesses are The first two businesses that we set up are Central Suites and XP Property. XP Property is an SME property development business. We specialize mainly in conversions because we don't have construction in-house strategically. Today, we're delivering about £35 million worth of stock. We've got a further £25 million worth in legals. The team is 9, so it's myself, Ben, who's my business partner, and my main role is acquisitions, funding, and structuring everything up. My skill set back from like sales. Actually, one thing I haven't mentioned is I've been quite prolific on eBay buying and selling things all throughout all of my life. I think I've transacted on over about 500 things. And they're all quite high ticket values, like between 500 and 1,500 quid is my typical sale value that I would explore on eBay. I've actually parked that now because I got fed up with all the logistical things of like people calling, being like, my delivery's not here, and I'm trying to manage businesses, and doing that on the side didn't really work. So that's XP Property. I'm based in Oxfordshire, so our head office is in Oxfordshire. And yeah, I think we're kind of at a good size of critical mass, and we will continue growing and delivering, whether it's new build, mixed use, conversions. And our main skill set is value add in acquisitions and value add in design. We then bring in a third party contractor, which you'll all note that I'm the only one out of us 3 that don't really have construction technically like in-house or under our management. We manage a third party contractor, and we do that for diversification. I think it's quite a noisy business. So our headcount is only 9 people, but we're delivering 30 plus million a year, which is quite an efficient way of building your own workforce. And that's XB Property. Central Suites is a privately run HMO business. So when I say privately run, not social or affordable, we are up to about 150 unit doors at the moment in Oxfordshire. That will soon be about 200 by the end of the year. We also flip houses in that business, and that business I also work in the acquisitions, the funding, the structure. I do most of the delivery, and then my brother heads up all the lettings management and tenant management and team management and day to day. So I can be semi removed from that business. So I go in and build new pipeline, build new value, and then my brother kind of manages that day to day. We will continue growing that. We've also got portfolio building products similar to what Ryan does up north, where we co-own. Well, I know Ryan does it as client owns, but we do co-own portfolios around Oxfordshire where people plug into our skills, our product, our branding, and we do everything. They put in the capital, we build a portfolio with them. We've now got 4 clients that we do that with in Oxfordshire. So those 2 businesses are almost 8 years old. Ben also, before both of those businesses were set up, set his own architectural practice up. So we see that falling into like the ecosystem of the group. So, and that's turning over about £1 million a year with, I think, about 12 architects that work in that company. And it feeds in really well to our ecosystem. And then Ben and I, about 5 years ago, set up XP Surveys, which is a measured surveying and topographical business. I kind of see it as 2 businesses. We've got the surveying business, which is like a independently run, what you could call currently sort of a lifestyle size business. It's turning over about £500,000 a year. Doesn't require a lot of our time to manage that business. But then we've also been building an AI-driven platform to take that business national. And when I say take that business national, it's not really actually growing that team. So our lead surveyor becomes a national surveyor. It's more, we do cover nationally, but it's more a platform we set out with automated processes to make this very archaic industry sort of modern day. We're still today the only company in the whole of the UK that can do an automated quote on your property online with just a postcode, click down, select what services you want, and immediately get a quote that you can then go in and book on. So we've built all that API platform, which is driven by a back-end API platform that we've built that feeds into a website. And we're now building an AI database and interface, which basically becomes we're yet to decide where we take it, but it's basically going to be a CRM, a sales market, an internal management, and like an operational database that we can use to what we want to be is the Uber Eats of surveying. So we don't have to be the surveyor in Newcastle that's delivering the survey, but with a platform that it gets booked on, tracked through, processed through, there's basically a market space where the surveyors locally can bid for the work, and then we can then instruct the work, and we're just basically an IT business at that point. So we've got like this little independent business in Henley that's turning over £500,000 and growing 50-60% year on year, but the profits from that is driving a tech platform that will be a separate kind of business that then hopefully launches that business to be a national business. That platform could also be used in other things such as valuation surveying, architecture. So it's a very replicable platform that we could then distribute to other industries as well. What else is relevant?
So this, ladies and gentlemen, is Jack Jenkins' 30-second elevator pitch. He gives at networking events.
Dorian, if you came on time, you would have heard the intro of it.
No, I'm only joking. Sorry,
Beautiful, mate.
Apologies.
Yeah, nothing else too relevant. What do I enjoy doing? I love workaholic. I love solving problems. I'm a new dad. I've recently taken up golf. I think I've been playing golf for almost 2 years now. Handicaps, I think I'm around sort of 18, but it started off bad.
I love the way that golf is Trump being a dad. I'm a dad. Oh, but I'm playing golf, and he'll go into set.
Golf's
20
great.
minutes worth of.
Yeah, I've got a Harley Davidson, which is sort of bit of my pride and joy. I enjoy. I'm pretty humble when it comes to like things that I enjoy. I've married into an American family, so I like going over there and seeing family and friends and playing golf. But yeah, I'm perfectly happy just with a family gathering in a pub, have a few beers with the dogs, and go on a nice little walk, and then come home and do more work.
Wholesome and modest Henley folk. Love it, mate. Nice. Stu, guess your background.
What Jack said about Excel, XP surveys, my cousins have done they're called Memia. You should look into their model. I mean, they literally were involved like 25 years ago. And my cousin was actually actively looking for a counsellor because she needed some help with something. Couldn't find anyone. So she built the platform for counsellors to put a profile page up. This is like 25 years ago when Google was only a few years old. And let them put like a little bit about themselves and what they specialise in and what their sort of key things they want to focus in. Anyway, they've got like 35,000 paying counsellors around the country now. Obviously, as soon as you put in anyone you want, they come straight to the top. And then they just replicated that and done like health directory. It's called counselling directory. And then they've got health directory, beauty directory, and they've just literally tried to capture the market, and they've been super successful. So tech is where the money is, boys. But until we come up with a subscription model.
The crazy thing about tech is when you look at our surveying business, let's say EBITDA is, for argument's sake, 150k, and the multiplier on a surveying business might be 4 or 5x, maybe slightly higher because Ben and I are not in the business delivering it and actually needed. So someone could quite easily take that business on and buy it off us. But tech, the multiplier is a phenomenon. It could be like 10, 12, 15, depending on the market growth, where it's going and the scalability, which is what we've acknowledged. And that we want to sell. Like we want to scale that tech business to sell. But it's funded and bootstrapped by the delivery of surveys. And the beauty of us delivering the surveys is we know what people want. Like speed is more important than price typically. And then if they are price sensitive, we go, yeah, cool, we can book you in, but it won't be as fast as the developer that's hemorrhaging 15 grand a month in finance costs. We'll get their survey done out quicker. We also know what people want in terms of we can do drone stuff as well. So people can get a really good interpretation on the site. But to give you a bit of an understanding of like the ecosystem, the vertical integrations and the lateral delivery, we can survey, design, develop survey and XP surveys, design in Aura architecture, develop in XP property, and then manage in central suites or sell under XP property too. So we kind of got the full fee strip across the whole pipeline of a deal, which I know is sort of similar to what you guys are doing as well. And that's really, it's great in the way that it keeps control. Everyone knows where the projects are. They already know that we've gone and surveyed this site and they're going to be on site in a few months. They can speak to the surveyor about access, details, layouts, manhole cover details and all that sort of stuff. The downside is when you have that cross-contamination, when you have a cash flow problem in one business and you push some funds into the other, that's technically creating a little bit of easement and problems in that business too. So it's almost like when revenue's in, it's great. When costs are shallow and costly, it starts to get a little bit more challenging. But we love what we do, and we continue to fight on another day.
Go on, Stu. Give us your. You got 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Fucking hell. Okay, right. Well, I am. Let me start this. How am I going to start this? So
in 1952,
back in my day, I loved that. I didn't picture this. I haven't planned anything, but yeah, here we go. So I always liked architecture. I always was quite creative. I grew up in a small community, and not private school, state taught. You know, parents didn't come from any money. They weren't in construction. I just always loved the barter. I used to trade stuff when I was a kid, like with neighbours and friends, and I'd take stuff to school. I'd be the guy with, you know, quite a big pog case. I don't know if you guys know pogs, or, you know, football cards, whatever there was money to be made or something to get that dopamine hit of doing a trade and feeling like you've won and feeling like they've won. Was always something I was drawn towards. I was massive into football, played every day and night growing up, and just liked being in social environments, really. Even when I was 14, 15, 16, 17, I'd always be down the local park. I'd always be the guy that looked old enough to get the cigarettes, the booze, always being up to mischief, always getting arrested for silly little things. The first time I got arrested was in year 7. It was when the hierarchy at year 7 was kicking off. We all went down to a private school, an all-girls school, and we found this massive underground bunker. And we all went down there with, you know, we didn't know what we were doing. We were just all getting together, and we were breaking into the drainage system. It wasn't a dirty drainage system. This thing was the size of a house. It was I've never been in anything big enough. Anyway, the school called the police. They were like literally trying to ambush us and trying to chase us and catch us in the woods, which was great fun. And then I got caught because I was the tallest one. I tried to walk down the road like I was like some 30-year-old bloke, just like, what is all this shit going on? Anyway, straight in the back of the meat wagon, straight back to my mum's house. Mum and dad got divorced around 2013, so that's another reason why I went off the rails a bit. And my gran was at the door, and I'll never forget her face. She's like, "That's exactly what your dad used to do." And that was it. That was the first time of about 15 arrests growing up. I decided to move away when I got to like 18, 19. It started getting quite serious. And I also really wanted to start earning some decent money. So I made a break from my local peers and schoolmates and stuff, and decided to sort of set up again in Weybridge, which is like 20 minutes away, into London, and sort of wanted to go into London and be drawn into start from the bottom and work your way up. But before that, I went to college, done an H&D, well, done an O&D in construction. And I got to about a year and a half in, and my cousin, who I was close with growing up, went to work for a carpenter. And he was quite impressed with Dan's ability. He was a grafter. He was still a party boy, but he was a grafter. And he was looking for an architect. He said, "Look, come and live in my pocket. I'll teach you everything I know about loft conversions." And he did. He was a great guy. I love working with him. It was wild times as well back then. But he went bust ultimately because cash flow killed him. And I learned some valuable lessons at 20. Unfortunately, his world fell apart. He had to lose his house. He was over leveraged and was set up almost as a limited partner, I think, at the time. So he was pretty up against it. So I went to work for another loft company and sort of fell into sales and into design. And it gave me the freedom to go and meet new people, go all around London. I sort of know almost every road in Southwest London like the back of my hand. For 7 years, I was focused on meeting new people, selling them a dream and experience, and then being quite involved with the process of running it. So that company I worked for, who are no longer with us, they went bust 10 years after I left them. I do think I had a massive part. I was doing like 6 or 7 people's job there compared to when I left. They had to get like 6 or 7 people to replace the output I was doing. I was quite good. So they grew from 6 loft fitting teams to 46 loft fitting teams. They were doing £1 million a month. It was a small family business, so I could see every nut, bolt, screw, everything that got dropped and broken. So it was almost like starting to see the visibility, but I didn't have the confidence at, when was I, 25, 26? No, 25, I think I was. So that I don't think I had the confidence to go and start my own business on my own, because it was just way too risky. It's only 6 years ago, you know, a well-established chippy who was like, you know, a great guy, went bust within like a year and a half of working with him. So I went into business with 2 brothers, and that was where I'd done my university and running a business. They're still great guys. I think 3 of them, they all might be coming to the ground up networking, the go-karting event. So they suggested they're going to book it. Hopefully they do. They're great guys. So yeah, hopefully I'll do an intro there. But they're still in construction. But after 5 years of doing sort of the bespoke, big £1.5 million construction projects, which we weren't set up to systemize them to make margins that we needed to. And after 5 years of being run down by those type of customers, we were systemized, but it wasn't that much. I had all the loft knowledge, but we were doing cage driven pile foundations under properties that were big problems. And I just didn't enjoy not being in fixed price contracts with customers, because I hate telling them bad news that they've just lost another 30 grand for something that's outside of my control, and then I have to work with them for 6 months after. You just feel like the trust is gone, even though it wasn't, and they still trusted you to deliver a big project. It just was uncomfortable. So I decided in 2013 to set up Skylocks. I sold my shares back to the two brothers who sold my shares to one of my best mates, who is still running it to this day. And set up Skylocks. I said to my cousin, who was also doing bits and bobs, he was doing a bit of working for himself. I said, look, I'm going to run this thing. Are you up for it? He said, mate, you design some, I'll build them. I worked alongside an architect friend who was based in Manchester, who used to come down every 3 weeks to do all my surveys. He was doing the design bit. Dan was building them. And then very quickly we went from one team to like 6 teams through my network, like within 6 months. And then I think we're doing like I looked the other day on another podcast, whatever the numbers were, about £2 million a year within like 18 months. We slowly grew to about 4.5, 5 million, I think was our biggest year. And then COVID hit, and it made me realign what I wanted out of life. I enjoyed spending some family time with the wife. We didn't have kids at the time, got 2 kids now. And the bank started handing out money like hotcakes, which was, again, another big risk. Before COVID, it was like, I'm not going to borrow 300 grand of my money. It was too risky not to. I had it tied up in trying to grow a national loft company, which was my goal. And I decided to, my friend who ran the construction business, Bruce, he said to me, have you thought about one of those COVID loans? I said, no, I don't really do debt. He said, mate, honestly, it's 12 months interest free and it's unsecured up to £250,000. So I rang my bank manager and said, look, I could do with a few hundred grand to get, I said, a £2.5 million order book. He said, send me the evidence. So I sent him all the contracts, and within 3 days, £250,000 or 240 grand hit the bank, and houses weren't moving or selling on the market. So I thought now's a great time to buy something in cash, and at least I can keep all my boys that are working, that are falling through the cracks in terms of furlough and stuff. So get them on it. Let's get people earning some money. So we clubbed together with Skylocks and the loan, put it into a new business called SW Homes, and the rest is history, really. And now I've sort of become a bit addicted to creating multiple streams of income. We recently, in the Blue Bricks magazine, which I spoke about creating multiple streams of income, because when you've got one stream of income, it is your world, it's your life, it's everything has to live or die based on the month's cash flow. And as soon as you can create 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 different streams of income, the stress levels are significantly lowered. And that is the beauty of what property is. I'm not here to try and build a multiple £1 million business anymore. I think 10 years ago, I had a bit more spunk and I had a bit more interest in trying to do that. Now I'm a bit more like, let's just enjoy life a little bit. You know, I've only got another 30 years, if I'm lucky, left on this planet. When I've lived in this house I'm moving from, I've been here 10 years. I can't believe it. It feels like I've done it like 2 years ago, and that's like a quarter of my life gone, evaporated in seconds. So I'm expecting the next 20 years of my life to go just as quick. So my plan now is to batten down the hatches, keep the system, keep it a strong business. We've won 2 more lofts this year off of 2 competitors, purely through our brand, our pricing, and I want to keep hold of that. I cherish it. We love what we do. I think people, when they buy from Skylocks and I meet them, and I still meet every customer, because I think it's so important to know what's coming up in your pipeline. And if you don't, and you've got a load of, I mean, you can build sales teams and build lists. I know I could do that now. I feel like I could do it really well now, but I'm not interested. I'm not interested in running. I'd rather know we've got coming up, and do a good job for them, and it will give us a good foundation. I want to retire doing Skylocks, basically, and I tell customers that I'm not going anywhere. We're quite strong now. Cash flow, systems, processes, team, culture. I love working with the guys we've got until their knees start going, or we're training the young guys up as well. So it should go, and you know, never know, Amelie or Hudson might fancy running it after I'm potting around in the garden. So that's my 3-5 minute bio.
That's all right. 7 minutes. That's all right. Nice one. Nice one, Stu.
30% less. Yeah, cheers.
D, give us your 3 minutes, high level background, and then what you're doing now, mate.
You've also built a rod for your back, taking the piss out of me for going over 30 seconds, Dorian.
Fact, mate, you did do a lot more than 30 seconds, trust me.
It's not a 30-second elevator pitch, that's why.
Take some beating this one. Right. Everyone, go make yourself another cup of tea. I'm going to beat Jack's. It all started in 1995. On a Tuesday, the wind was very breezy.
I did actually start from birth, to be fair.
Right, so Yeah, lovely, by the way, to hear your story again, Jack, and you, Stu, and obviously soon to be yourself, Ryan. One of the best things about being on this podcast and sharing so many hours with you guys is that I'm forever inspired by yourselves, and every time I listen to you guys talk, it always like kicks something off in my brain. Doesn't matter how much time we've spent together. It genuinely does. Even when you were both talking, I've actually made a couple of notes myself to check up on things. With Jax, I wrote down AI, just the emphasis of that, just for me to go away and check what am I doing about AI actually. What am I actually doing? And with Stewart, I even though he didn't talk about it, I wrote down Bitcoin. And I'm so very surprised he didn't
You have
even
a
talk
Bitcoin.
about that. I'm
Don't
so
do it, D.
surprised he didn't talk about it.
Don't do it.
But don't do it. But no, look, I'm eating into my 3 minutes. So I am. Where do I start? I was very fortunate. I was born into a family of property investors, accidental property investors. My dad's an old school builder. A really old school. He didn't finish school, and my mum was a stay-at-home mum, and she didn't finish school. They're both dyslexic, and my mum's bipolar. So growing up was a house full of fun. And I've got 2 older brothers and a younger sister. Both of my brothers didn't. I think both got kicked out of school as well, and growing up, for whatever reason, I was naturally academically inclined. All of my family are very intelligent, but we're kind of intelligent in different ways than the traditional system, so to speak. But the one benefit I had growing up is that my dad, like I say, he was no school builder, so I used to go to work with him growing up. But he was always talking about, like, there wasn't a proper job, so to speak, and the schooling system wasn't held on a high pedestal growing up. So, and my dad was always working. He would. I wouldn't see him when I woke up, and I wouldn't see him when I got back in. And he didn't come to my Christmas plays or anything like that. He's very, like I said, old school, the previous generation. But he worked very, very hard, and when he was home, he was still working on the phone, and you kind of pick up that type of environment. And because I was the third sibling, and I had 2 older brothers who were a bit more hard work than I was. By the time my mum got to me, because she did most of the upbringing in the house, she kind of just gave me a little bit of free rein because she's already knackered. So I had quite a lot of freedom growing up. I had freedom of thought. I had freedom. I didn't really get much pressure. My parents weren't terribly strict, and they found their own way in life that was unconventional. So unconventional thinking was actually normal to me. So I'm very, very, very grateful for that environment. I'm very lucky. And it just so happened that they were in the property sector. Because of being a builder, my dad was picking up these houses. They've only ever really done buy, refurbish, refinance, as we guys know it now, to single let. They've not dabbled in things like HMOs in terms of room shares. They've got HMOs, but more of converted apartments. They've not really done new build development or a real extensive conversions or anything like that. It's been very vanilla, and it served them well, and the capital appreciation has fueled their business model. So they still buy, even today, 4 or 5 properties a year, and they've been doing that for the past 30 decades. So 30 decades, 3 decades. So fucking hell, I'll be as blue-blooded as Jack if that happened. But anyway,
He's a traditional builder, your dad, then. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. He was building when Henry VIII was around. Stupid idiot. Anyway, so growing up, I had a natural entrepreneurial flair. Even as early as I can remember, I was doing things like this was in primary school. I was making word searches and trying to sell them for 50p. I was doing ironing and trying to see if I could do ironing for other people and make money from it. And turns out I was quite a good ironer, actually. Don't tell my wife though. And going through high school, similar thing. I was buying and selling things like cigarettes or chocolates, and I was buying and selling motorbikes. And whilst later on in school, I was doing things like importing from China to try to sell online. I used to go to boot sales and buy things and sell them on eBay. And I loved the thrill of doing deals, and I still love that thrill today. It's the best part about the business I do now, which I'll get on to. And sometimes I actually just get so excited. My whole body fills with adrenaline. Like, it's hard to explain for anyone who's not felt it before. But I think you guys probably have felt it before. Sometimes when you're doing a deal, you've done a deal, my body literally fills with adrenaline to the point where I'm shaking. And I'm like, I fucking love this. And then very quickly it goes, and you enter into the depths of despair when you're like, oh my God.
What have I done?
Yeah, what have I done? Yeah. So, but that was my upbringing, and I was destined to be an electrician. I was working with my dad growing up, going around sites and stripping wallpaper, making tea, everything an electrician doesn't really do. So I found that I didn't really like getting my hands dirty. Time moved so slowly. And but again, I have some great lessons from that. Like, the biggest lesson I had was, I remember it now, I went to work with my dad. He was fitting windows, and I hated it. I wanted to go home, and he would always shout at me and all that stuff. But I stayed there, and my dad was not, and my brother is the same now, and I'm now the same. We were never a working hours type of people. The job's done when the job's done, and he'd fit this entire first floor of windows. And towards the end of the day, he was like, right, I started cleaning up and loading the van, and that was the best part of my day because I knew I was going home. So I was cleaning up, loading the van. He was finishing up, and then as he finished up, he noticed something wasn't right with the window. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to take this back out. It's not right. Go get the tools back from the van." And I was like, "Oh no, can't we just go home and do it tomorrow?" And he's like, "No, the job's done when the job's done. Go get the fucking tools." So basically that. But that lesson has stayed with me for life. And as I was growing up, my work ethic just absolutely exploded when I found something that I was actually passionate in. That actually, and this, people talk about burnout and stuff, and it might change when I get a little bit older. I'm 30 now, but honestly, I've been doing what I'm passionate about now for the past over a decade, whatever it is, 12, 13 years, 14 years. And I know I get more energized the more I work. And it's like, the more I'm working into what I'm passionate about, the more energized I'm feeling, the more happier I'm feeling, the more I don't get burnt out. I get invigorated. I want to do more. So it actually becomes a problem, which is what Jack was talking about, workaholic. That's where that comes from. It's because it doesn't feel like work. It feels like you're actually really progressing. Yeah, you're addicted. Yeah. So anyway, that was my upbringing. When I finished school at 16, and because I was quite naughty as well growing up through school. My brothers were naughty, and it was kind of, I didn't like school that much because I thought it was pointless learning about stuff that I knew I was never going to use in life. I've always been that type of way in thinking. If I don't think something's relevant, unfortunately, I lose, my attention span is very, 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 very small. Whereas if I'm interested in something, I've got like a photographic memory, like a sponge. I just will absorb it and will never forget it. But something I'm not interested in, which was unfortunately most of school, I find it very hard just to be good. And but I knew that I needed qualifications because also the world is where we are. I look at everything we do as a big game, and the rules are set for you. And now you play the game to the board you're on, and the rules you're given, and the dice you're held with, and the piece you're playing with. And that's how I've always as well. I like things like chess, etc. And that's the way I knew that the world works around qualifications, and you need at least C's to get, things, doors opened, especially in English, science, maths. So about year 9, I just said, I'm going to be year 10. I'm going to be good. I'm going to get C's. And that's what I did. I finished school with C's and B's, and I set up a letting agency when I was 16, because by then I stopped working for my dad and was working with my mum doing the bookkeeping and accounts, and realized I love numbers. I like managing properties. I like doing the tenants, all that, in and out and all that sort of stuff. And so when I was doing that for my mum, I was like, I could do more here because there's not enough work. There was a lot of work. It was like, there's not enough work. I've still got another 8 hours in the day, and there's these tenant leads. So it's like, I could now find these tenants a home. And that's what I did. I started calling landlords and started letting the tenants on my parents didn't have any properties for. And I started placing them with others and making money from it. And then that expanded. and I realized I absolutely loved it. Then I expanded into an estate agency, learning to buy and sell. I expanded into finance brokering, learned to raise money from debt, did my qualifications in that, went into commercial finance brokering, and then started, because I was networking, I was a prolific networker around the country, I started building relationships with investors. And because I knew how to buy, sell, finance, refurbish, and let and manage, and I could speak about it quite confidently, it just attracted investors, fortunately. And I started working with investors and doing my own deals when I was, whatever I was, 19, 20, something like that. And then I quickly went from buy, refurbish, refinance, single lets. I did HMOs, I did serviced accommodation, I did commercial conversions, I did new build housing. Between the ages of 16 and 23, I literally did everything in the property sector, and I wouldn't actually recommend that to people. I wanted to do everything, and that was a problem of mine. It still is today, but I've learned to control it more. I wanted to do absolutely everything. I was running way too quick. I was setting up too many different businesses in too many different niches. It should really take 7 years to really set up and establish a business properly. And I blitzed through all of them because I wasn't necessarily interested in scaling those businesses to a big business, but I loved them and I wanted to know all about them and get depth of knowledge. So on the back of that, and I know I'm going on now, I developed a huge passion for
How
business.
many how many
Sorry.
30 seconds have you got?
I know. Do you know what, Jack? It's actually
Yeah.
quite tough, isn't it, mate? So
Can you just wind back and tell us the story about getting the tools out the fan again? That was my highlight.
You'll have to watch it back now because I'm going to get a negative comment on this thing that he's talking too much. So I've nearly finished. I've nearly come to the grand finale.
Take your time, mate. Like I said just before you joined, we've been a year and a half on this pod, so we need to refresh everyone with who we are, what we do, and how we look at the world. So
Yeah. But no, I do take it back from earlier, Jack. You are right. This is. But there's just so much to say, isn't it? So where was I? I'll have to start again now. Right. So it all started. Joking. No. So I like I said, I was going.
You're buying and selling, mate, between 16 and 23. There you go.
Yeah. I was buying and selling. I was doing too many, but I absolutely loved them. None of my businesses failed, but I learned so many. I made so many mistakes. But I've never had a business that's failed or gone into liquidation or anything like that. But I have closed businesses. I have come out of strategies. I have lost money in deals, etc. And I've also made money in deals. I was just learning so many mistakes, and I developed a huge passion for self-development. Like I really wasn't a nerd in school, but as I said earlier, when I found what I liked, what I loved, I couldn't get enough of it. And that for me was business. And I started reading so many books. Literally, I've read hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, I'm not even exaggerating, of business books. And I've done lots of executive business training with Goldman Sachs, with Cranfield Business School. I did a master's alongside of scaling my business, etc., and various other courses along the way. And even today, I absolutely love it. It was only the other month I was looking at enrolling into a different thing, but I've got this huge thirst for knowledge and also applying it into practice. And then full circle, I did a development deal where I couldn't get out of it. I couldn't sell. And that really bothered me because I raised money from an investor. I raised money from a bank. I bought a site. I did the work, and that was hard enough. And it was finished, and it was really nice. And the market dipped. I think it was around Brexit time, which is after. And there was nothing I could do. The confidence just fell out of the market. There's nothing I could do, and debt was just racking up, both from the investor and from the bank. And I was like, oh my god, I could really like fail here, and I just couldn't do anything. Luckily, just by absolute luck, the market slightly turned. Somebody came along, agreed to buy it, cash buyer. Within a month, it was sold, and so within 30 days, the whole trajectory changed. But I came out of that, I was like, do you know what? I don't want to do that. I don't want that type of risk. I don't mind risk where if I've made a mistake, it goes wrong. But I don't like that type of risk where if I do everything right, it could still go wrong. So it was like, I don't like that. And I skipped the point, but my letting agency did a lot of social housing. As I expanded it and grew it, I started doing contracts with homeless charities and housing associations. So come full circle, realised that there was a huge gap in the market for social and affordable housing across Wales. There was a huge housing crisis. Housing associations were forced to develop. They weren't developers. And I was like, oh, do you know what? I could actually, I've got some, I could help them here. And that's where Cashflow Group was born, which is a social and affordable partnerships house building company that started in Wales. We started with 0 investors, 0 sites back in 2019. I didn't officially start trading until 2020. So it's been 5 years. And we've, I was correct. The market was there. The demand was there. The clients were very well reciprocating, sorry. And it absolutely took off. I got a pipeline of over 100 homes within a short time frame, 6 months, secured an ultra high net worth investor just again by pure luck and through recommendation. And that kickstarted a multi 7-figure investment, which kickstarted a multi 8-figure development business. And we are where we are today. Which the last financial year we turned over 30 million, but we got a pipeline of over 250 million. We operate right across Wales. As I speak today, we're building over 300 homes live on site. We have a pipeline of over 1,000. We're doing multiple deals every week, and we're now expanding into West Midlands, and I just love what we do. I love what we do so much that it's the engine, like Jack said, it's the engine for other spin-off businesses that I'm doing alongside or creating alongside, and I've got a huge ambition and target and goal, which you can see behind me on the board. I look at it every day. We're going to be national, and eventually, after we're national in this business, I'm going to have, I know it, global, international and global interests. I've got no intention of slowing down, got no intention of retiring. I want to make the biggest impact I can while I'm here. I've already started the process just to ring fence a little bit of wealth for my family, because I'm the type of guy that puts all chips back on the table. And once I've achieved that goal, which is quite a modest goal, it's £20,000 a month, of guaranteed, no leveraged income. Other than that, everything's back on the table. Here we go. This is what I'm here for. I found my calling in life, and I absolutely love it.
Beautiful, mate. Well done. Yeah, that was about 60 seconds.
Right, we're going to have to do yours next year. Sorry about that.
Yeah, guys.
Next month,
Dorian, can I just request one thing? For someone that's got 30 million in delivery and 250 million in pipe, buy a bigger fucking poster, please. That's better. That's got a nice frame. Like, you look like you've picked that up from a car boot, and you also got the post-it notes from the same stand because he threw them in for free.
If anybody knows me, I'm actually a very frugal person. I don't really buy clothes. This is secondhand from eBay. I don't really buy. I only wear Skechers really as shoes. I'm very simple. I don't buy anything. But when it comes to education or self-development, like I'm learning to fly the helicopter, that's very expensive. Or some of these courses I've been on are very expensive. That I class as investment. Investment, I will invest millions. But spending, I hate it.
You do wear the same polo pretty much every day, which is, but I commend that. Well done, mate. Beautiful. Nice one, D. I will keep mine as brief as humanly possible so we can get on to Jony Ive just before we close out.
Right, take the time you need. We can always do Jony Ive next week if we need to. We want to hear what you're up to, mate.
All right, so high level, grew up very nomadic lifestyle, moved house every year up to the age of 14, and I've basically continued to move house every year since. So I don't have a home like most people would. I don't have a place that I grew up. 3 different countries, 4 different schools, privately educated and state educated.
Have you heard of the phrase, your home is where you hang your hat?
Yes, yeah. I've always said home's where the heart is, or home's where you want to be. So to me, Earth is my home, and I'll go wherever I want to go.
Well, not for long, Mr. Moon Man.
Oh yeah, and then the moon. I go to the moon. That's my North Star. But yeah, my parents' attitude towards life was always just do whatever you want, give it everything you got, but deal with the consequences. From a very young age, I was completely uncontrollable, a very naughty kid, but very popular kid. I was good at sports, which is a fortune when you're a child. Because if you're good at sports, you got lots of mates. Girls tend to like you. You get along well at school. but I was in detention, suspended. I was expelled from 2 different schools. I was just a naughty, naughty boy. And luckily, sports kind of kept me on the straight and narrow. Funny anecdote, when I grew up, where I grew up in Spain as well for a period, I used to steal loads of golf buggies from local golf courts, and I'd take them joyriding and stuff, and I got away with it for years. And then I did get arrested by the police at the age of 9 with my 11-year-old friend, Tirso, who ended up being a fucking supermodel in Spain, which is super weird later in life. But yeah, so grew up very peculiarly, and I think that's fed well into my business life because I have that immigrant mindset where I don't care where I live. It's just where the opportunity is, I will go, and that fed into later in life. Then moving to the northeast, and when I joined the band, I then moved to Slough and all those sorts of things because I wasn't tied to a specific location. I do think it's a strategic advantage to not be too bothered where you base yourself. So yeah, did all that growing up. In another life, I would have just been a professional sports athlete. I've always been good at sports, football, and then went into free running, parkour. Did that, hung off cranes, jumped between buildings, traveled around Europe, did all that fun stuff. Everything I've ever done is documented online, pretty much from the age of 12, between Facebook and different YouTube channels. And then through free running, figured out the marketing side and how to get attention online. So we did this Spider-Man video that got 300 million views. It's still the biggest free running video ever made, and did some other videos that got tens of millions of views and stuff as well. And then
How have I not seen this Spider-Man video?
yeah, you can find it if you type in Spider-Man parkour. You can find that one. And then one day, listened to, long story short, little brothers came in and told me to play the best song ever. So my little brothers were tiny at the time, and that's a One Direction song. And I said to them, look, boys, this is not going to bode you well in life if you start wanting to listen to boy band songs. It's not a good idea. And I tried to talk them out of it because they'd heard it on the radio. And I was like, all right, we'll play it, because my mum was nagging me. Played the song and went, they had a documentary. Always loved documentaries. Weirdly, didn't apply myself in school at all, really, but always loved documentaries and physicists and astronomy and space. Like, always loved that stuff, which does help with critical thinking, first principles approach, and all that stuff that fed into business later in life. Wasn't my intention. It just so happens to help with your worldview. And when I watched that documentary, I was like, that looks cool. I'm going to do that instead. Literally quit free running that day, taught myself how to sing. And within 6 to 9 months, I'd moved to Slough, got in the door with this. I actually started a really crappy band in Bristol first. Awful. Manager was like, it ended up being a bit of a nonce, and we had to report him with the police because he had some 14-year-old on his roster, and we knew naughty shit was going on. That was weird. But that's the music industry. It's just full of, mate, it's full of creepy. I've met the weirdest people you could possibly think of in serious positions of power, and I'm like, how are you where you're sat? Music is a disgusting industry. And but yeah, knew of this guy and was like, he's the guy I need to connect with, which was my future manager, if I want to build something serious, because he'd built loads of like bigger acts that had gone on to the X Factor and gone on to have success and all this other stuff. So just hustled to get my way in there. And then we then ended up building a band in Slough, 1-bed council flat, again, all documented on YouTube. Lived there for 3 years to build that band. And we built the biggest independent band in the world. We had millions of followers, toured the world, toured arenas, did loads of crazy stuff. And then towards the end of that, ended up going, obviously I learned a hell of a lot about digital marketing and how to like arbitrage attention. And I knew I could take that into whatever else I was going to do in the future. Didn't care about making money. I've always made money. Very unemployable person. I knew I could never be employed. I've never had a real job, although I did work as a KP for a period when I was in free running, so I could have some money for the bus fare, which is in the back of a kitchen doing all the dirty work, and did all the newspaper rounds, sold sweets in school, all that kind of stuff to make money. And so post band, started getting into property, saw a Samuel Leeds video, and I had a lot of followers, and was easy for me to connect with Sam, sit down, have a dinner with him. And he said, you want to own the property? You don't want to do the rent-to-rent stuff and other bits. I was like, okay, cool, sweet, good advice. That was as much advice as I basically needed. And I knew that you could buy stuff up uplift the value, refinance it, go again. My dad's always been in the investment world, the financial services world, and basically me and him ideated and went, we could productize this as an investment service for investors. So our goal has always been to build the biggest possible and best investment service for clients. We never knew exactly what the strategy would be from outset, but we knew we could do it, and now that is the path we're set on 6 years later, where I think we are pretty much the market leader in the UK for this type of vertically stacked investment offering as a hands-off turnkey service to investors, and we're constantly trying to build in a better service offering. We invest tens of thousands a month into new ways of doing what we're doing, building a client portal, integrating as much AI and autonomy as possible. So we've got the sourcing and acquisitions, we've got one construction company, we've got another construction company, we've got a lettings and management business, maintenance business, and we're based in the Northeast. We're going to get a second office, ops office up in Newcastle next year, which we're building out for, setting up an office in London at the moment for the sales and marketing and a bit of a brain to the business so we can raise more capital. We raise about $1.5 million a month at the moment. Want to get that to 10-20 million a month. And just keep feeding these trading vehicles we've got, because what I see is that we can obviously keep building the investment proposition, but I want to actually build basically our own private equity fund where we can steroid inject, merger and acquire different blue collar working businesses that complement not only our existing project life cycle, but also we can take those nationally much more easy than an investment company. Maintenance, domestic services, lettings, sales, all that kind of stuff. So I'm setting up the non-exec board and strategic partnerships in London so that we can start to do that and take a whole different approach with how we're growing the business. So I think my view on property development is quite unique in that I don't really care that much about building my own portfolio. We've done that and we'll keep doing that as a byproduct, but I'm much more interested in the client service offering because the underlying business model is really good, and we're not tied to liabilities with having to forward fund sites and hope that we get planning at a certain point and recapitalize and take on those kind of market tethered risks. Instead, we build out, utilize this investment vehicle as a way to spin off good cash flow and blue collar companies that I think have longevity in a modern world of technology that's completely eroding other types of business margins, and then use a private equity lens to go, okay, now merger and acquire complementary services that can complement the overall business strategy. So that's where we're at now. We delivered over 500 units and we'll deliver about 300 units over the next year. That's a blend of doors for HMOs, buy-to-lets and apartments. And that's where we're at, 37 headcount. I've just literally hired 3 people in the last week. One girl's about to start in 20 minutes, who I need to go and induct, and the ops admin. Hired a new contracts manager and a new head of procurement for construction, who's also going to blend as a bit of a QS. And I've got a roadmap of another about 20-30 hires I need to do in the next year if I want to meet the goals that we've got for setting up in London, building out a board, and bringing in that middle management layer. So Death Valley, we've been through one version of it. We're about to go through the next version for the next 12 to 18 months. So obviously, this is what this podcast is great for. All of us boys kind of keep each other up to date, and then inadvertently keep our audience up to date with our business journeys, our strategies, our difficulties. So I think it's a good idea that Jack's mentioned this for us to kind of reconsolidate where we're at, who we are, for any new listeners. Because if you are listening to us, you might think, why are you listening to us? Well, we've all got a lot of experience. We've all done a lot of stuff. We're all hustler bustlers. I'm sure a lot of our listeners are as well. Hopefully you can relate, and stay tuned to the journey. That's what we're here for. And we've got about 10 minutes if you want to touch on the Jony Ive stuff.
I just want to touch on saying, really, I was reading some of the comments last night, and I didn't realise we get quite a few comments on old episodes, which is quite good. So I was looking through quite a few of them. It's quite addictive. And the consensus was that people just put this on the background when they're doing mundane stuff, whether they're going to the gym, working from home, and they just feel like they're surrounded by 4 other guys, like the extension of their mates, and they just love listening to the fly on the wall stuff. Well, here's one for you. I've just been listening to that, and I've come to the realization that I think we are pretty much the in-betweeners of the property development world.
Yes.
I think we've got Dorian his will, because he's committed to the cause. Totally, the educational piece made me think about it. So it's like he's so committed, like he's got his journey, he's focused, and I loved In-Betweeners when it was on. And you got Neil as Rye because of the stealing golf balls, his band life, his love for the women, or his women's love for him.
I
and he
did.
didn't apply himself
My
at school.
noncy uncle. Yeah.
I would have to probably be Simon, only because even though Jack looks more like Simon, I'm definitely more sensible than Jack. And Jack has got to be Jay because he's such a fucking piss taker. There you go. I was just thinking that is just so.
To be
so
fair, I don't mind. I
beautiful.
don't mind the caravan club.
Love it.
I can't believe
no other
I've
character
just,
you can
I've
be,
just
Jack,
been
mate.
rinsed there. Fuck. I've just
I
been
think
absolutely rinsed.
so. For the listeners, I actually quite frequently pretend I'm Stuart's little brother. So maybe we're just both Jay, but you're the older version of Jay, and I'm the younger version of Jay.
You're definitely more of a piss taker. You're just so witty, but that's your private education, mate. I reckon, or it's just your personality.
I have a theory of why I like making jokes, and it's because at school I didn't have the answers academically, so I would feel like I've got to communicate in some way. So I'd just do that with like wit or making jokes, and so anyway,
It's good. It's a sense of safety as well. Like you feel like you can be yourself and comfortable and stuff. All people use it as a defense mechanism. But it's you're a funny fucker. We have good times off the camera as well when we're together. So
It makes sense that Ryan was privately educated because I was surprised with his like vocabulary and
Dorian wasn't.
his.
I know the words these two
Yeah,
come
he's
out with. I'm
certainly
like,
wasn't.
fucking, what are they on
wasn't.
about?
I certainly wasn't.
He's
No
right.
way.
Yeah, I'm convinced he's Russell Brand's love child. I'm absolutely convinced.
And most of the time when he's speaking, everyone, I just have to say, what does this word mean? What does that word mean?
Yeah, I've got Google Translate up here. What the hell?
What's your favourite word that he says? Because he's not even listening. I like the word he always uses with those quangos. I think that's such a good word.
Quasi-autonomous. What is it? Quangos. Quasi-autonomous non-government officials. That's what it is.
What it
Quangos.
stands for.
He loves the word nonce. He uses that quite a lot.
I do. Yeah, nonce is a good one. Let's throw that around. All right, let's do a little bit of Jony Ive because I think it's really interesting. And then we can close out. I've just Sammy's going to sort me out and he's going to go and host our new hire for a little bit, and then I'll come in. So Jony Ive, yeah, because I just want to get your guys' speculation on this. So anyone who doesn't know who Jony Ive is, so he was Steve Jobs' left-hand man for inventing. Were designing all of the products that have changed the world. So we'll go on to those in a second. So Jony Ive says he wants his OpenAI device to make us happy. So he is coming up with a new device. And this is the guy who invented the iPhone, the Apple Mac, the iPad. And he's going to come up with huge backing from massive investors to create the new product that everyone's going to use in their lives. And we'll go on to the details of it. But I think it's just cool for us to go, how's this going to disrupt our businesses? How's this going to disrupt things? He quoted, I don't think we have an easy relationship with our technology at the moment. True, the former Apple designer said at OpenAI's development conference. And he wants to create something that ultimately makes our lives better, not make our life more consumerist, because the iPhone is just destroying people's lives in certain ways. It elevates our lives in others. But I think on net balance, for young people particularly, the iPhone is not necessarily a great tool that's scalable for the foreseeable future. We need something new. And Jony Ive, if there's a guy who could invent it, it's Jony Ive. These are the products he invented: the initial iMac in 1998, the iPod, the iPhone, the iPad, the Mac, and the Apple Watch. So he's got a good track record. It's a pretty good CV. And he said, I have a growing sense that everything I've learned over the last 30 years has led me to this moment and this new product that he's going for. Suspenseful. So Sir Jony Ive will assume deep design and creative responsibilities to build the new products for OpenAI, the company that makes ChatGPT. It comes after the company bought IO, a hardware startup Ive founded with fellow Apple alumni Scott Cannon, Evans Hankey, and Tang Tan in 2024. The long-term plan was seemingly always to merge with OpenAI. The deal is reported to be worth $6.5 billion. And although Ive will not join OpenAI himself, his Loveform studio will take over design for all of OpenAI, including its software. So strategic advantage-wise, bringing the best designer in the world into your mix, OpenAI is trying to solidify themselves as the go-to AI company, which I'm sure is kind of like Quakey for Google, Elon's XAI, and other competitors in the market. And then the mysterious device. So this is getting onto the speculation side. The mysterious device that OpenAI is cooking up with former Apple designer Jony Ive will be a pocket-size, contextually aware, screen-free, and isn't eyewear. So when you think about that, you go, well, what kind of medium is this going to be? And here's the best thing that people have speculated on is it's going to be some kind of brooch type device that can see and is omnipresent and aware of everything around you, and will probably feed through some kind of earpiece into your ear. And that's as much information that's been released. No one knows exactly what the device is. It was just leaked in an internal meeting with OpenAI and Jony Ive. So based on that information, how do we think this could affect business ops?
Is it like, Iron Man has that like base that they, like James Bond communicates with, like, I don't know who he communicates with, I can't remember now, but they're like the agents of the world. So like the Iron Man or the James Bond like communicate to a base that is like a robotic simulation of some sort that gives them answers when they need it, helps them when they need to like see, hear, and do things. It sounds to me like that, like your third party agent that's always on helping you on your mission to help you do things, like remind you to do this, see that you're going to miss that bus, so you need to come up with another plan or whatever it may be. It just sounds like your own internal agent. One thing that when I was reading these articles, I was actually thinking is the way that the way that they're using like Elon as an example, the way that the automotive industry has came is like adaptational evolution. So I always say this about Elon Musk. So sort of adaptation of like a product, and the evolution of a product is you take something that was and you're creating something slightly different but newer continuously for years and years and years and decades and decades and decades. And that's what happened with the cars. And then Elon comes in with a completely different from scratch perspective and creates something that's now one of the leading car brands in the whole world. And that's kind of how I feel the phone is adapted so much that it's still what it was, but just newer, that you kind of need someone to come in with a completely different perspective from scratch so that it's so different that it creates the new adaptive product, if that makes sense. And I think it's going to be, like mega, because he was such a fundamental part of Apple. And a lot of Apple's success is their feel and design. I don't know if you've ever seen like how much effort they put into just packaging to build that experience of like opening up something new, and the feeling of it looking so space-like is how they represent it. So I think that's my view. I think it's going to be almost like a bot agent that's intelligent, that supports you. Because at the moment, they're talking about replacing Siri with AI, right? That is an adaptation to a product that already exists. What if the new existing product was based off AI, so that it's not an adaptation, it's manifested of the foundations of AI?
Like your own Jarvis, you mean? But if you're talking about Iron Man, that's I think I'm in agreement with you, Jack. If that's the description, then all it can really be is something that's like with you, wearable, whether it's like a necklace or a watch but isn't a smart watch, or whether it's like you said, some form of clip on, but it's more of a voice. It recognizes is all about voice audio, but has sensors and kind of is your just constant agent that is recording, like or assisting and linking with your OpenAI account and eventually your other applications. So you've got, as you're going out doing your business, anything that needs to be done, that could be done, by the time you get back is done.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
To give you an example of like a Jarvis product is, we've already talked about golf, so I use that as an example. For anyone that doesn't play golf, it's quite handy to know your range of distance from the pin, so you know what club you need to use. I've got an Apple Watch and an Apple phone. I've got an app on my phone which tells me the distance, but I've got to then get my phone out of my pocket, unlock it, go onto the app, and then it's auto-populated to that hole. So it's pretty efficient. If you showed that to someone 30 years ago, they'd lose their shit. It's very advanced. My phone is paired to my watch, so I can go on my watch and have a look, but I've still got to unlock it and open up the app. Imagine if you had this bot that you were driving to the golf course and you said, look, I'm playing Badgemore Golf Course in Henley today. Follow my GPS. And when I ask you the question of how far I am from the pin on this particular hole, can you tell me? And then you've got this thing on you and you just say, Jarvis, how far am I from the pin? I'm on hole 4. And then that responds back to you 250 yards. That's way more efficient than having to use your hands, having to get your product out, having to pair it with another item, only having one product. So,
But what do you think though about the concept of losing the screen? I think is the big disruptor.
I think it's because it's going to have a hologram projection on it.
well, if you look at the success of the way
I
I
mean,
see
light.
this is an Amazon Alexa, right? Everyone has an Amazon Alexa in their home and uses it to communicate, play music, do whatever it needs to do. Imagine if that was on your person.
Yeah.
I was only going to replicate what you boys are saying, but the only thing you really need is AI becomes you. So if it's sitting on you, it's listening to every conversation, every phone call. It solves the problem that's just been handed to you, either a phone call, a message, visually. It will then, it potentially would then just go off and do the action. So you wouldn't even have to ask it to know you're 240 yards from the pin. It will know that's where you're walking to. It knows what golf course you're playing on. It's heard you book it. It'll just become just an extension of you. And it's a good thing short term and a terrible thing long term because it will become you. You won't have to think or do anything. I was in the bath last night with Ams. I was bathing her, and she was doing rhyming words. And Charlotte come in and she's sitting on the toilet and we were sitting with the lid down, but we were chatting about. We got to giraffe, and I looked at Charlotte immediately. She was on OpenAI. Or she was on, I don't know. She was on Google or ChatGPT, and it basically just was giving her the answers. I'm like, that's not part of the game. It's like playing I Spy with all the answers. What's the point? And that's really where it's all going. It's like it's just going to take all the fun out of everything. It'll be good. It'll be good short term, but it won't be good long term.
Imagine how much this product here, like this product, particularly with the visual aspect, with social media. Think of all the businesses that are leveraged off of this interface, this intersection with the human being. Like, if this becomes something like that we're talking about, how do you market your services to such a product? How does marketing change? How does sales change? Like, how does ops change?
Yeah, marketing will go for a big shift.
It'd be a huge difference.
All you need is an ID tag, and away you go.
But you'll still need things, right? It's like let's take our type of businesses, yeah. If I'm an investor and I want to invest into a company and I want to use a property development company to invest my funds, and I'm just wearing this device, how do I become aware if I'm not scrolling social media to get prompted by an ad, or I'm not surfing the internet online in that way? This is not to say that computers become redundant. There's still going to be Macs, there's still going to be iPhones for a long period. But if we go to a world where
It'll prompt you.
people are
Your AI will know that you operate in your area, and when someone else puts something online or in the marketplace, it will just go out and fish it. Like it'll just spider the website and go, bang, there's another one here. This is the price.
there's still a bandwidth constraint for you, the human, as the interface, because you couldn't listen to 100 different companies offering a service offering. It would have to rank them. There'd have to be some kind of ranking.
Yeah, it'll know by filtering the questions you've answered and the environment you're in and the phone calls you're having and your goals, ambitions, aspirations. It will filter all that. It's just still filters. It's a massive database. It's just getting so powerful.
Think about it from the business perspective, though. Let's say I want to buy a pair of jeans. There's how many thousands of pairs of jeans and types are there out there, even of the same category, right? I want to buy some skinny jeans. Could they be Levi's? They could be Topman. They could be anything. How does the AI decide which one to recommend?
You do that now because I got a link like a few days ago saying that a personal stylist will go out and buy you. Just choose your brands, choose the cuts you like. So you'll do that once.
How do you do that?
And then because you'll do it on a screen at the moment, but if it will go in visually either way. Okay, yeah. So there'll be an entry level. You have to have a computer or something to set it up. But I think it will just be trial and error because once it's starting to capture your data today, in 5 years' time, it won't have to ask me because it will know the ones I've returned because I've tried them and what the reasons were, and it will listen to the fact that you didn't like them because they were too tight on the bottom or they were too long by an inch or two, and then the next set will get delivered. It's just data.
I think it'll be much more disruptive than you think. I think for the same reason that you used to go to the town centre, surf the high street to find the clothes you like, a very low bandwidth way of trying to find product. And these all companies had to analogly advertise to you, convince you to come into their store, give offers and things like that. And it was slow. Then move to the digital world. Now the products find you through search algorithms, and you've got an interface with a screen, but you could still see multiple permutations of products over, say, a 2-3 week period until you're convinced to buy one said product. In this type of thing, it's almost taking that to the ultimate extreme again. Like the trend line is going all the way to some narrow place where you'll only have one or two options.
Yeah,
But
who choose for you?
who?
Who choose for
But
you?
yeah, and how does it
And
choose
who's
for you? What's the
choosing?
arbiter of that? Yeah, and how
It'll
does
be
the
centrally governed, yeah, which is dangerous, which is where the government ID and all the rest of it's going, or it will be learning.
Do you know an analogy that somebody said recently, which I actually agree with? You know, before AI, well, what's happening? It's like the revolution of electricity. Before electricity, it was candles and just oil. And then all of a sudden there was electricity, and then but it wasn't instant. Not every house all of a sudden had electricity. There was infrastructure needed to be upgraded, but surely enough, sooner or later, every place has electricity, and that is the same with AI. I think within the next 5 years, every business it'll be the mainstream. Every business will be kind of run from it, because all the main platforms we're all working on, they're embedding AI into it, and I just believe that within the next 5 years, that's where we're going. So the question is anybody listening? The reason why I'm saying this for any listener, anybody listening who's in a type of business that isn't really looking at AI, isn't adopting it, is quite traditional in their approach. I'm extremely confident. In fact, I'm telling you, I believe that within the next 5 years, it's going to be mainstream. So people need to they do need to do something about it, because it is just so convenient, so useful. It's like electricity. It's like phones. It's happening.
The thing about AI as well, the thing to think of is it's always the best AIs, i.e. the free market will determine this, but the best AI will be the one that finds the best source of truth. What does that really mean from a business perspective? It just means quality, the quality of the product. And if you look at what Meta's just done, and this has fucked us up this week, and we're going through a massive ramble because Meta have just completely wiped out their entire business ads management. Like they've completely flipped it on its head, and they've gone from where you could try and keep a long story short, where you could use different hooks and prompts within different sub campaigns and ad sets, and they've taken all of that away, and now it's an AI. They've integrated Andromeda, an NVIDIA product that they've fused in with Meta, because ultimately there was like 100,000 ads going out a day, new ads going out on Facebook a day, and their algorithm couldn't manage the workload because there's too much spam, basically too many spammy ads. So they're now optimizing for quality because they need to, and the AI can do that much better than the sort of more primitive algorithms. And it means that you have to produce quality ads for them to do well, which means you also need a quality product. And this trend line of AI being the arbiter and decision making for us means you have to be the best product, which I think is good for competitive people like all of us, because we want to be the best anyway. But it means it will wipe out that competitive entry point for those starting out with new products, because you have to be the best. And I think that creates a bit of an incumbent environment, which is my point about this potential device, is I think it gives the incumbents a huge strategic advantage, because they will be the best product and the best service, and you'll have a limitation to how many prompts you can get. If you don't have a screen where you can scroll social media and use search algorithms and stuff to target people, it will be limited to a short list of maybe 2 or 3 options, because you're not going to want to listen to every possible golf club you could buy. You're going to want to hear what's the best one that's most useful to me, and who decides which brand is then best useful. Well, it's going to be the quality of the product, and the algorithm's going to decide that for you. So it just completely flips the business marketing landscape.
I think choosing your golf club off AI is like quite a few layers down. I think there's a lot more, there's a lot more jobs that are going to be affected before we get to that bit. It will come, but who knows? If anyone's listening and they're AI specialists or they're in this field, we all love to learn. So if you know someone, get involved. And
the perspective I was trying to get from is not utilizing your device the same to tap into. AI is the same. Yeah, I actually believe that whatever this product is will be the same as what your phone can do, but your interaction as a human with the device is going to be completely shaken up. So the principle of what you're saying, Stewart, with your phone and ChatGPT and getting all the answers, you have to manually use 2 hands or 1 hand, your eyes, your focus, your look down, your fingers. Whereas that, I think that's the part that's being focused on. Is a product-led person. So, I think the AI will be the same. That's forever growing and a huge tool to tap into.
But there is there's a physical limit to bandwidth constraint, and if they're not going to have something visual, which is what they've said, maybe they do, maybe it's interoperable with some other visual product they'll create, because eyewear seemed to be the next thing, and maybe that still is. But without, your eyes can take in billions of data points a second, but your ears can't. Your ears have to listen at a slower speed, and if that becomes the intersection between the marketplace and a human being because of this new device, then it completely changes everything, because you just can't consume the same level of content that your eyes can. I think it's interesting to think about. It's like an interesting thought experiment. Like, okay, well, how do I market my services in that kind of world?
I'm going to spend the weekend thinking just about that topic, but unfortunately, I need to dash because I have a very important call. And look, lovely speaking with you all.
Massively appreciate it.
Nice one,
my
D.
highlight was the 34-second pitch that you did. That ended up being the longest, I believe.
Before you go, make sure you get your Blue Bricks magazine. Ground Up, baby.
Yeah.
Little pitch.
Ground
Send
Up.
the link in the group.
Real estate.
Also,
in our Ground Up Live, we'll be singing the song.
Yeah, Ryan's singing the song. We've almost sold all of our go-karting tickets. If you want go-karting tickets in a few weeks in Canary Wharf, let us know. And our Ground Up Live event on the 9th of January, where Rye has promised he will sing it. I think what we should do is all sing it live and then get voted on who the winner is. Stewart's going to turn his into Sex Bomb.
And we all put 10 grand in, and the winner gets all the money.
Stewart's going to do a country spin on it. Ryan's going to go for it properly. I'm going to do a Welsh twang on it. And Jack's going to, I don't know what the fuck Jack's going to do, but it'll be a good surprise. Jack's going to jay it. He's going to sing it and make up stories as he goes along that just did not happen.
Any listeners who want to get tickets to anything we're up to, then check the link in the description or go to our Instagram bio, grounduppod. Instagram bio, you can check the links out there. Go-karting, the Ground Up Live event, which is selling well as well. Really excited about that in January. And join the network as well. The network is growing and growing. There she is, Ground Up Network.
I wonder if it would work for you. It should work, wouldn't it? There you go. Scan that if you want to.
Go on, scan that, boys and girls.
Just
see you on the network.
Edit it in, Ryan. Edit it in.
Yeah, I might edit that in there, Stu.
Ryan, can you send this Spider-Man video in the link so people can watch this? Because I want to watch this.
I'll put it in the group chat.
Yeah.
It's a shit video though. It's just did really well virally. All right, safe one, guys. Big love. See you next week.
Right, bonjour.
All right, bonjour.
Bonjour, mange too.
Ground up sound. Ooh, yeah. Real estate deal. We lay